All right, Oval fans. Now, honestly, before recording this video, I may already have access to the theme song because I actually think I found a way to find it. If I didn't, oh well, egg on my face. Here's the video. But episode 3, Heat. And I have to say, guys, this episode, best episode yet. I think overall, the acting was a lot better in this episode. I think what really made this episode shine was it wasn't all sex, guns, drama, fights. What we got was character connections, like different characters who know each other, and it's like, oh snap, okay, this is getting interesting. We're starting to build that spider web where all these storylines are connected, along with, some character moments, some backstory. And it kept me engaged. And I'll tell you right now, I got over almost 2 pages of notes letting you know that a lot of stuff went down in this episode. I pretty much got the shock value that I did when I was watching Greenleaf. Like, I didn't think the finale wouldn't be good. I just didn't know it was going to be as great as it was. So when I went over to like 2 pages of notes, I'm like, oh snap, this is getting good. But the Oval, just fantastic. And I recorded my sister's video a couple hours ago. I had to take a break. Because of apartment maintenance. That's why if this video is up Thursday night or Friday morning, that's why, because maintenance was going around doing their smoke detector checks and other things, so I couldn't record most of the day due to a ton of background noise. But yeah, I'm doing it now. I watched the Oval and Sisters this morning, and I enjoyed both Sisters and Oval episode 3. Easily the best episodes of these shows. So off the bat, this episode gets an 8 out of 10. Solid 8 out of 10. A lot of things happen. So basically, we pick up where we left off. Donald takes the gun from Lily, asks if she called the police, but she didn't. And Bobby's asking for an ambulance over and over. I'm dying. Give me an ambulance. And he won't tell Donald anything. So he pretty much makes the call for, his guys to come, except for Kyle. And tells Lily to go down to open the door for him. So basically, Bobby's taken away, and Lily's like, wait, did he say anything when I was gone downstairs? No, why? And, Kyle's being a bit too, protective, but he's brushed off by Donald. And basically, the thing is, Donald keeps asking about Lily, why is your dress wet? We all know it's from that bathroom sex. But she's like, oh, it's just something that happened at the airport. And he's like, well, don't worry. Within 24 hours, we'll know everything there is to know about that man from the moment he was born to when he was in this house. So Lily's looking concerned because going back to what Bobby said at the end of the last episode, the surveillance footage at the airport. And honestly, at first, I was thinking that when it comes down to Lily's dress, I'm like, I wonder if she would have come up with a story about there being weather at the airport, or maybe Bobby, accidentally spilled a drink on her, and then that's how they met at the airport, and then that's why he probably followed me back home as a stalker. I thought that's what she would have come up with, just, thinking out loud. Gail gets a message from someone, and she's like, I've been waiting for you to contact me. And it's kind of interesting that she gets and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like she got that message right as she goes to the window and notices Denise being brought in by one of the Secret Service guys. So was Denise messaging Gail, or was Gail getting a message from Picky? So in any case, Denise is brought to the Oval, and what really I think is funny, because I think Hunter gets a text message as well. That's why he wakes up. So he's trying to sneak out of bed like a kid trying to get a snack from the kitchen when his mom isn't looking. And I just love the background music and the way he kind of tiptoed to the door, and then we see Veronica awake. I just love that. That was hilarious. And it's funny when scenes like that, when there are no lines, there's no dialogue, but you get a glimpse of these people's character just by their physical, motions and things like that. So then they go to the Oval. Max guards the door, and I'm really getting Jim Cryer, Candace vibes from this. Basically, I'm picturing if Jim had gotten the governor's mansion and kept Candace or another whore, this is exactly what would have happened. He's like, I'll never leave you. And then she's a bit shocked that those two are still together, because of the fact that typically when politicians, rise up the ranks, they kind of forget about the people, they were screwing around with at the beginning. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But the trench coat comes off and they have office sex. My main question is, I hope they clean that desk before the next presidential meeting in that office, and the sofa and the floors. So Barry's meeting up with some gang members who we've later, and I remember not getting the name down. This is like, wait, is it Plucky? Is it Pinky? Oh no, it's Picky. So basically Picky is saying cuz, and I'm like, I know in the, some people just use cuz, but he's literally Barry's cousin. Barry is in a frenzy trying to find his daughter, and this is how you know that cult run by the higher one ain't no game. What was in the last episode, the police are like, oh, when the cult was brought up, but now you have gang members not even trying to mess with that cult. That lets you know right there, these are some dangerous people, and they pretty much try to, well, Picky pretty much tries to calm down Barry. He's like, look, sorry about your daughter, but you're a good dude. You don't want to mess with these people. I mean, hell, we don't even want to mess with them. But long story short, he doesn't want to tell Barry where they are. He gives him a bad address anyway, and then he ends up stealing one of the guns off one of Picky's boys. And he warns Barry that the gun has heat on it, so don't get caught. Next up, we have Victoria and Gail basically throwing shade in the kitchen, going back and forth until Gail mentions that, there's a certain guest that's in the White House, basically referencing Hunter's whore, if you will. And then Victoria runs off from there. And let's see here. Yeah, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Gail's calling Picky. And if memory serves, I think Leon is his name. He's the guy that Gail wanted to come to the inaugural ball, but, Victoria wouldn't allow it. And it turns out, and this is the moment that floored me, I'm like, oh, snap. Picky is Barry's cousin, and his uncle is Richard, who's the butler at the White House. So it's like, okay, we're getting some connections here. I like where this is going, which begs the question, if Gail knows about Denise, it's kind of like, well, then that means then, she knows about Denise, and then the possibility of her having a twin sister who Hunter knows about, and then the fact that she has a kid with Barry, and it's just like, this is getting crazy. So he hears some beeping on the phone. It's like, where are you calling me from? The White House phone in the kitchen. And then he hangs up because he obviously knows the lines are tapped. And even before that, she's like, I'll get you into the White House. Like, ain't no way I'm going up in there. I can make it happen. And it's like, nah. So he hangs up. That was pretty interesting. Afterwards, Max is defending the door from Victoria, who's throwing like a glass bowl and, trying to fight him. And basically, we find out the Oval is soundproof. I did not know that. But we learned that, she, along with everybody else, has been covering up for Hunter all the whores he's had. Definitely getting Catherine vibes from the conversation right there. And he helps her up off the floor, after her promising she's not going to try to attack him again. And then she goes back to her room. Bobby's treated in hell. That's what I wrote down in my notes. Basically, he's taken to I guess you could say, off the books location for the bullet wounds. Obviously no anesthetic, so he passes out from the pain. Kyle and another guard are talking about it, and it seems like the other guard is, a bit taken aback by Kyle's insistence that he takes over Donovan's spot to watch over Donald's house. But, the other man's like, oh, so you're interested in his wife? And it's like, no. It was like, the hell if I'm not, so I am. Basically, that guard is interested in Lily, while, we kind of get the vibe that Kyle's into Donald. So he's like, okay, well, if he doesn't talk, give him to me, I'll break him. So basically, if Bobby doesn't talk, then he'll take care of it in the next episode. After that, we see Lily having nightmares. She basically, shaking over the whole Bobby thing, not to mention the possibility of her being caught in her half-true. She's not divulging all the information. She's concerned about everything about the family. Does he have a family, kids? Where is he at? Is he hurt? Is he dead? I shot a man. And I definitely got a lot of David Harrington vibes from Donald in this episode, believe it or not, just by his demeanor and whatnot. So we get a scene between Sharon and Richard, and they're just kind of recapping the events of what happened with Callie and everything, and what they're going to do. Picky comes over to warn his uncle about the situation involving Barry, losing his mind, taking a gun. I gave him a bad address so we can avoid him going after that cult. But what he said. I said they're at Rocky. You better go over there and see if you can get them. So it's pretty obvious face to face. Richard and his nephew they aren't on good terms, to just put it lightly. And moving to the next page of notes, because again, this was a packed episode, but in a good way. Lily goes downstairs and sees Kyle at the front door. They're pretty much talking about the Bobby situation. Kyle isn't saying anything, but he kind of gets the feeling, because they're professionals, that Lily isn't telling everything that happened. It just doesn't all add up. And then, Kyle suspects there's foul play involved, but Lily is denying all that. Next up, we have Gail being, a prick to Priscilla Owens. And then the maid walks in. I forget her name, but I know she wants a private line. She wants breakfast. She's just a little bitch. Really, there's nothing else I can say. That's all it is. But hopefully we get more reason as to why she is the way she is. Next up, we have Denise and Hunter talking. And, it's just a situation about just loving the sex. I guess that's the best way to put it. That's really all I have to say about it. Max escorts Denise out, and another guard makes sure she's covered, on the way out. And he tells Hunter about how Victoria came down, and she's being very upset about it. Pretty much a forewarning to what Hunter has in store once he gets back to the room. And Hunter's just being an ass. He's like Jim Cryer dialed up to 10 for some reason. And he even hints at Max, well, why don't you, take my wife for a spin? It'll get her off my back for a while. And it'll keep her out of the Oval, maybe. So, yeah, he isn't into it. Next up, we have him going back to the room. Victoria's asking where he was. He doesn't want to say anything. Goes into the shower. Boom. Glass in the feet. Then him and Victoria exchange words and basically threaten to take care of the next goon who tries to guard the door to the Oval. And also like, what if I pay your little whore a visit? Basically referencing Denise. So, yeah, based off Hunter's reaction, it's not the first time she's done that kind of thing before. Then we have Lily and Donald again, and he's trying to comfort. Lily tells Donald that Kyle is downstairs, but then Donald goes down there to confront him. And this is where things get confusing. It's like, did something happen between Kyle and Donald in the past? Or is Kyle being a Justin-like character, being very possessive and stalkerish and things like that? There are so many unanswered questions here, but there is a hint to, the fact that Lily and Donald haven't had sex in a while, or they've never had it. And it's kind of, is he in the closet, or was he in the closet? Is he trying to find himself? Why is he having sex with his wife? Did he have sex with Kyle in the past, or what? Or I don't know. It's just a lot of things where it's very confusing, but I'm pretty sure we'll find out as time goes on. And once again, it's moments like this that I like more than just jumping into a show and people are having sex in windows and bathrooms. And it's like, well, I don't really know these characters. I don't really care about them, but I'm really starting to care now. And I like what they did in this episode. So we get a Jason scene, which is thankfully more than a freaking cameo. And once again, the maid is there, and I forget her name, but he comes in, and it's actually a pretty good scene at first. He's like, hey, why do you all look so afraid when we're ever around? And then she makes the point where it's like, White House staff is supposed to be like, kind of not seen. It's supposed to be like magic. You walk in a room and it's, automatically straightened up and clean. But he asked some questions about, how did she get the job here and everything. It's like, hey, can you stay and talk? No, we're not really allowed to do that. And it's like, so where do you all stay? And then she mentions these staffing quarters, and he wants a tour. And it's like, dude, you really creepy as hell with your shot. It's like, But she basically tries to arrange that, with upper management. And that's the end of that. So we get a little more intel on Jason, and it's like, I don't know. This dude, he's obviously more than a peeping Tom. Let me just put it that way. So I'm pretty sure if he's introduced to the staffing quarters, somebody like Priscilla or maybe Richard will catch him in the act. But then again, he's supposed to be under constant watch anyway. So then we get to Nancy and Sharon. And this is probably my favorite Nancy scene of the series so far. And this pretty much, those two kind of recapping again, Nancy being upset, trying to cope with what's going on, worried that, Richard and Barry aren't back yet. And then the fact that, Sharon's reeling from what Barry said in the last episode about how you don't accept me having a daughter with someone else and you'll never be Callie's mother and stuff like that. And it turns out this isn't the first time he said it. So Sharon is, for good reason, kind of distraught over this whole situation. And Nancy reveals that Ruth has a past that we don't know about, but it's definitely very troubled, and she didn't want to share what was going on, which doesn't justify her actions, but at the same time kind of explains how she's gone down this dark path. And after that, we get Richard and Barry. Basically, Richard finds his son, tries to reassure Barry that I know what it means to be a loving father and, go down that path to wanting to kill to protect your family. But this isn't the way to go. This isn't you. Barry reveals that he wants to find the cult and then kill this higher one. And, he lies about having a gun, but thankfully Picky told Richard about the gun, so he knows he's lying. So he tries to take the gun, and then the gun goes off, and that's the end of the episode. So overall, pretty solid from start to finish. I was engaged in this episode. No real big complaints. I think overall what I loved about the episode was getting to know more about these characters. Everyone just about had a moment to shine. The acting I felt like way better than the first two episodes. And I just think overall the pacing was pretty well done. Even though I think and I'm not docking points for this, but I think one misstep was the fact that you end the cliffhanger with the gun going off in the car. But then in the preview during the credits, we see Richard talking with Hunter in the White House. So you kind of misstep there. And I don't even think the gun was pointed at Barry, so I don't think he's dead either. But with that being said, what did you think of episode 3 of the Oval Heat? What was your favorite part? What characters are standing out to you? I don't know. If the Oval continues to get progressively better, I think I could possibly see it outranking Sisters. But at the moment, Sisters is still number 1 to me because that's kind of where I'm at right now. We're only 3 episodes in, but the Oval is finally getting off to a good start. But with that being said, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know your thoughts and be on the lookout for more content.